You know that feeling when you graduate high school and suddenly realize nobody taught you how to handle actual money? Like you can recite the periodic table and solve for X, but you have no idea what compound interest is or why your credit score matters. You're standing there with a diploma in one hand and a complete lack of financial knowledge in the other, wondering how the education system managed to skip the one subject that actually affects your daily life. Well, here's something that might blow your mind. 68% of teenagers would eagerly sign up for a financial literacy course if their school offered one, but only 31% actually have access to these classes. That's not a small gap. That's a massive educational gap that's costing our country nearly $500 million every single year. My name is Alex, and I spend way too much time thinking about why our education system teaches us everything except how to manage the money we'll spend our entire adult lives earning. If you've ever felt completely lost when it comes to personal finance, or if you're tired of feeling like everyone else got a secret handbook on money that you somehow missed, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you the financial education that school should have provided years ago. Now, before we dive into the money lessons that will actually change your life, let me paint you a picture of just how deeply incomplete this system really is. Right now, only 26 states require students to take a personal finance course to graduate. 26 out of 50. That means if you live in the wrong state, you can graduate without learning a single thing about budgeting, investing, or building wealth. And here's the part that will probably make you angry. Schools serving predominantly minority communities are half as likely to offer these courses compared to schools with fewer minority students. Students from low-income families have even less access to financial education, which creates a cycle where the people who need this knowledge most are the least likely to receive it. But here's what's really crazy about this whole situation. The teachers themselves often don't feel qualified to teach financial literacy because they never learned it either. We've created this massive blind spot where adults who never received proper financial education are supposed to somehow pass on knowledge they don't possess. It's like asking someone who never learned to swim to teach a swimming class. 81% of students try to discuss money topics with their parents, but most parents aren't comfortable having these conversations because they're still figuring it out themselves. Only 34% of adults can pass a basic financial literacy quiz, which explains why so many families struggle with money despite earning decent incomes. This brings us to the first lesson that should have been taught in every classroom across America. The most powerful force in personal finance, and it's something Albert Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world. Compound interest. This single concept can be the difference between retiring wealthy and working until the day you die, yet most people graduate without understanding how it works. Here's the mind-blowing part about compound interest. It's not just earning interest on your money, it's earning interest on your interest. Let me show you exactly what this looks like in real numbers, because once you see this, you'll never think about money the same way again. If you start saving just $100 per month when you're 22 years old and invest it in an account that earns 7% annually, by the time you're 52, you'll have contributed $36,000 of your own money. But here's where compound interest becomes magical. Your account won't just have $36,000, it will have grown to over $122,000. That extra $86,000 didn't come from your paycheck, it came from your money making more money while you were sleeping, working, or binge watching Netflix. But wait, it gets even better. If you let that same account grow for another 10 years until you're 62, your $100 per month will have turned into over $247,000. The same monthly contribution, but time allowed compound interest to do the heavy lifting. This is why starting early is so crucial, and it's exactly why schools should be teaching this concept before students graduate and start making financial decisions that will impact the rest of their lives. The beautiful thing about compound interest is that it doesn't care how much money your family has or what neighborhood you grew up in. It works the same way for everyone, but only if you understand how to use it. Now let's talk about the second lesson that every school should teach, but almost none of them do. How to actually manage your money through something called budgeting. I know, the word budget makes most people's eyes glaze over because it sounds boring and restrictive. But here's the thing that nobody explains properly. A budget isn't about limiting your fun or eating ramen noodles for the rest of your life. It's about telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Think about it this way. You wouldn't drive across the country without a map or GPS, right? Yet most people navigate their entire financial lives without any plan whatsoever. They get their paycheck, pay some bills, buy some stuff, and hope there's money left over at the end of the month. That's not a strategy, that's just hoping for the best while expecting the worst. The basic idea behind budgeting is stupidly simple, but it requires you to do something most people avoid at all costs. You need to track where every dollar is actually going. Not where you think it's going, not where you wish it was going, but where it's really going. Most people have absolutely no idea how much they spend on food, entertainment, or random impulse purchases until they start paying attention. And once you start paying attention, you'll probably have one of those moments where you stare at your bank statement and wonder who the hell spent $40 at Target for what was supposed to be a quick trip to buy toothpaste. Here's the part that might surprise you. Once you know where your money is going, you can start making intentional decisions about where you want it to go instead. Maybe you discover you're spending $300 per month eating out when you thought it was more like $100. That's not necessarily a problem if eating out is something you really value and you can afford it, but if you'd rather have that extra $200 going toward paying off debt or building an emergency fund, now you know exactly where to find it. But there's one more thing that might be the most important lesson of all: credit scores. This 3-digit number will determine whether you can rent an apartment, buy a car, or get a mortgage. It affects the interest rates you pay and can literally save or cost you tens of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. Yet most students graduate having never heard of a credit score, let alone understanding how to build one. A credit score ranges from 300 to 850, and it's basically a financial report card that shows lenders how trustworthy you are with money. The higher your score, the better the deals you get. Building good credit starts with understanding that every payment you make gets reported to credit bureaus who track your financial behavior. Pay your bills on time, keep your credit card balances low, and avoid opening too many accounts at once. For young adults just starting out, a secured credit card can be a great way to begin building credit history. You put down a small deposit, use the card responsibly, and start establishing the payment history that will follow you for the rest of your life. Here's what makes this whole situation even more frustrating. The states that have implemented mandatory financial literacy courses are seeing incredible results. Students graduate feeling more confident about managing money, they make better decisions about student loans, and they're more likely to start saving early. Alabama has required financial literacy education since 2013, and their students consistently outperform national averages on financial knowledge tests. They also report feeling significantly more prepared to handle real-world financial challenges after graduation. The difference is night and day when you compare students who received proper financial education to those who didn't. The educated students understand compound interest and start investing early. They know how to budget and avoid unnecessary debt. They build good credit from the beginning instead of learning these lessons the hard way through expensive mistakes. Look, the education system fell short by not teaching these concepts, but that doesn't mean you're doomed to financial mediocrity. Everything I've shared in these 10 minutes is actionable information you can start using today. You don't need to wait for schools to catch up or for someone else to fix the system. You have the knowledge now, and that knowledge can literally change the trajectory of your entire financial future. Start with compound interest by opening an investment account and contributing even small amounts regularly. Create a simple budget by tracking your expenses for 1 month and then making intentional decisions about where your money goes. Build your credit score by paying bills on time and keeping debt levels manageable. These aren't complicated concepts that require advanced degrees in finance. They're basic life skills that every adult should understand, and now You do. The question isn't whether you can afford to start implementing these strategies. The question is whether you can afford not to. Your future self will thank you for taking action today instead of putting it off until tomorrow. So there you have it. The financial education that schools skipped, delivered in 10 minutes. Don't let another day pass wondering why nobody taught you this stuff, because now they have.